Have you ever wondered how some people can get away with eating whatever they want and they don't seem to gain an ounce of fat? It just seems like they have this super fast metabolism, and you may be sitting there wondering, if I eat one Tim Tam, I'm going to put on 5 kilos and this guy can eat whatever they want? That's not fair, right? So I'm going to break down how that actually works, what's actually happening, what the metabolism is, and what's the biggest thing that actually affects your metabolism. It's called metabolic adaptation, and you can do something about it. So metabolic adaptation is the process in which your body alters how efficient it is at turning calories into energy. Now, this is a response for starvation or dieting too hard. So when you're dieting too hard for too long, your body perceives it the same as starvation. Now, it might not be to the same extent as starvation, but it's basically the same kind of process. You're going down the same road. You might not just be going as fast, right? So in times of low calorie intake, our metabolisms need to become more efficient with the calories that we're intaking so that we can survive longer. So this will prevent starvation, right? So if we're talking, 2,000 years ago or whatever it may be, if you were going through a period of low calories or you didn't have access to food, your body wants to survive longer, all right? And this is what metabolic adaptation is, where basically you're lowering the amount of energy that you're outputting so that you can survive longer, right? And this is, if we're talking survival standpoint, your body fat is what's going to keep you living longer. So a person with more body fat is going to survive longer through periods of starvation than a person with lower body fat. Body fat is stored energy, right? Now you can't use all of it right now, but you can survive longer if you have more body fat. Anyway, now to understand how all this works, we need to understand the TDEE, which is your total daily energy expenditure. Now I'm going to break that down into a little bit more detail. These are all of the processes that your body uses that need energy. So these are all the things that use energy. So the things that make up your TDEE, we have your BMR, okay, which is your basal metabolic rate, which is all the bodily processes that you need to survive. Examples: breathing, your heart beating, shifting blood around the body, your kidneys processing, liver, and all of that sort of stuff. That's BMR, right? You need all these things to survive, and the amount of energy that you use to survive is called your BMR, okay? Next, we have your NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is all movement that isn't programmed exercise, in effect, what I'm doing right now, right? So all of this sort of stuff. This is NEAT, okay? I didn't program to do this. I didn't go, 3 sets of bench press, 3 sets of move your hands around, right? You don't write down to fidget. You just fidget. Or you just move your hands for body language, right? Next up, oh boys, I hope you don't anyway. I hope you're not writing down 3 sets of bench press, 3 sets of move your hands around. Next up, we've got exercise activity thermogenesis, which is your programmed exercise, which is, 3 sets of squats, 3 sets of bench press, 4 sets, whatever it might be. Then you have the thermic effect of food, which is the amount of calories your body is burning to digest food. Yes, digesting food burns energy. No, you can't just eat more food to burn a ton more energy and lose weight that way. The amount of calories that you're burning by digesting food is very, very low. But nonetheless, it burns calories. So I need to chuck that in there. So to break this down further, I want to show you a visual representation of the metabolism, which is going to be much easier for you to learn because, a lot of people are much more visual learners than auditory. So I'm going to pull that on the screen for you guys right now.
One last thing before we get into the metabolism. So NEAT levels, just so some people understand, when people say, I have a fast metabolism or a slow metabolism, this is a very good study, a very interesting study that breaks down what's actually happening there. So I'll go over it very quickly. I'm just going to use the top and the bottom. So what they found was people with a BMR of 1600, which is quite low. This is a smaller individual, right? My BMR is about 2100. I'm 86 kilos at 6 foot, right? So if we look at someone with a BMR of 1600 that's chair bound all day, they're using their NEAT levels burning about 500 calories roughly. Someone that does agriculture that's moving around all day for work is burning about 2500 calories. So this is one way in which you can sort of say, fast metabolism, slow metabolism. I'm not saying it's a be all end all, I'm just saying it's another way to look at it. So that person that supposedly has a fast metabolism could be moving all day, whereas you may not be moving, so you may not perceive it as, it's just a different way of looking at it. Okay. So metabolism explained. This is a visual representation. At the bottom we have time. On the left, going up, we have your TDEE. So if we are to use an example of someone that has TDEE, so they're using 3000 calories a day, They've started dieting. Now they're using, let me get this right. They're using 3,000 calories a day. They're consuming 2,000 calories a day. They're in a 1,000 calorie deficit. As we can see here, the two red lines represented here. If we go to the next one, this gray section is showing you the deficit. So 1,000 calorie deficit per day is 7,000 calories per week, which is 1 kilo of weight loss per week, roughly. That's what the science and maths dictates. Now, what metabolic adaptation is, and this isn't to say it's going to happen over 32 weeks, but visually, over that time, your body will now learn to survive on the 2,000 calories. And in this time period, anything that's not essential to survival will drop. So your hormones drop, your thyroid drops, your NEAT levels drop, blah, blah, blah. Now, this is where diet breaks come in. This is one of my favorite strategies, which I'll talk about as well. Diet breaks are one of the best things to offset metabolic adaptation. So a visual representation of what diet breaks are doing. This is not perfect. It's just so you get a visual idea of what I'm trying to talk about here. So over time, when you incorporate diet breaks, as opposed to staying in a constant 2,000 calorie deficit, you would do 2,000 for a certain period of time, 3,000 calories back on maintenance for 1 to 2 weeks, then back to 2,000, etc., etc. When you do this, visually what's happening to your metabolism is before it gets the chance to adapt, that diet break is pushing your metabolism back up. Then it's going back down, diet break pushes it back up. Now again, this is not perfect. This is not exactly how it works for you. This is a visual representation of the principle of how it works.
With all that being said, your metabolism is not broken. You can do something about it. Now, the best way to actually fix a damaged metabolism is to slowly raise your calories over time. So if your maintenance calories are here and they should be here, well, we slowly want to raise them back up there. If we go straight there, that's technically seen as now it's a calorie surplus. So in this period, if my metabolism is here and I'm eating this, I'm going to gain weight because of this gap, right? So that's how you gain weight. Basically, you go higher, you eat more than your maintenance calories. So let's say your metabolism should be 3,000, but it's at 2,000 and you just jump up to 3,000, you're going to gain weight pretty quick because you haven't given your body the chance to raise its metabolism. So what do you do to actually fix this? You need to raise your calories slowly over time. Okay? How slow you do it will mean you gain less body fat. So the slower you do it, the less body fat you gain. The faster you do it, the more body fat you're going to gain. This is a sacrifice you're going to have to make. It's very likely you're going to gain some body fat in this process. It's part of it, right? You're better to gain a bit of body fat, fix things up, then try and lose weight properly, incorporating the methods that we talked about, diet breaks, etc. Then you'll be able to have a higher metabolism and be leaner, which is exactly what you want. Okay? Now, how you would actually do that, you would raise your calories by, say, 50 to 100 calories. You can do it per day, per 3 days, per week, etc. How long are you willing to dedicate towards this process? The longer you do it, the less body fat you gain. The shorter you do it, the more body fat you'll gain. Okay? Now, a few tips and tricks to prevent metabolic adaptation in the future. So, first one being, you can avoid metabolic adaptation through reverse diets and refeeds, like what we were saying in the previous slides that I just pulled up. The other thing you want to do is avoid rapid weight loss. Okay, so if you're losing more than 1% of your body weight per week, you're more likely to get metabolic adaptation and you're more likely to lose muscle mass as well, which you don't want either of those things. So, if, example, I was 100 kilos and I lost 1 kilo per week, that's acceptable because that's 1%. If I lost 2 kilos per week, it's not acceptable because that's 2%. I'm more likely to get metabolic adaptation and I'm more likely to lose muscle mass. Now, you also want to keep your protein intake high enough. Through periods of dieting, you need to have higher protein than periods of maintenance or gaining weight, and this prevents muscle loss, which is exactly what we need through periods of dieting as well. You want to avoid excessive cardio because too much cardio, same thing, can give you metabolic adaptation if you're abusing it. I'm saying excessive, I'm not saying cardio is bad, I'm saying excessive cardio is bad. Okay, and it can also make you lose muscle if you're doing too much cardio. Okay, you want to incorporate refeeds and diet breaks like we said before, but you also want to make sure that the transition period from a diet back to maintenance or to a bulk is planned for. Now, like I was saying before, if your metabolism is too low and you try to go straight back up to your maintenance calories, you're technically going to be in a surplus, so you want to have a plan. What am I going to do to get out of that deficit? So you want to plan ahead. Okay, that could be a reverse diet, or you could have done refeeds leading up to it to prevent your metabolism from lowering too much. Even if you did that, you still want to have a plan. So guys, I hope that breaks down things a lot more easier to understand for you on how the metabolism works, how metabolic adaptation works, what you can do about it. If you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys very soon.